Good evening and welcome to UNSW's Postgraduate Info Evening. It's great to have you all joining us here this evening. My name is Ellen and I'm one of the faculty partners here at UNSW. Tonight, joining me, we'll be meeting my colleague Jordan, who is our International Regional Officer, and Layla, a current postgraduate student who is studying their Masters of Engineering. Together, we're going to walk you through domestic postgraduate study at UNSW. Before we begin, I'd like to start by thanking and acknowledging the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the traditional custodians of this land, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Island people that may be joining us today. If you have any questions throughout the evening, please ask away in our chat and one of our future student advisors will respond to you live. So why choose UNSW? We hear this all the time. Well, UNSW is in the top 20 of all universities globally. We're ranked 19th in the world according to QS World University Rankings for 2024. And we've also educated more CEOs than any other university in Australia. And according to the Australian Financial Review, for the past 5 years, UNSW has produced Australia's most employable graduates. So whether you're looking to launch your dream career, climb the corporate ladder, or maybe switch industries, UNSW has a range of programs to help you expand your industry networks, connect with your global alumni community. At UNSW Sydney, you can choose to study a postgraduate qualification in one of 6 areas, be that arts, design and architecture, business, engineering, law and justice, medicine and health, or maybe even science. Now to your UNSW experience. UNSW offers a range of career development programs available to you as a postgrad student, which cover things like resume writing, interview skills, career planning, and more. And you'll have the opportunity to meet with a UNSW career coach to plan your career journey and enhance your employability as you study. We also have more than 300 clubs and sports teams if you want to be social or active, and there's volunteering opportunities to gain experience to give back to your community. You can find out more about those on our ARC website. Now to take a closer look at postgraduate study for our domestic students. I'll be running through how to apply, how to use Degree Finder, pathways, and to plan your postgraduate coursework. Now, first up, how do we apply at UNSW? There are 2 ways of applying for postgraduate degree at UNSW. While for most programs you can apply through our Apply Online portal, some programs require an application through Universities Admissions Centre or UAC. Applications for programs within the School of Population Health, the Juris Doctor, and the Master of Teaching Primary or Secondary are made through UAC. The UAC website will have all those key dates and final closings to be aware of for each of those respective programs on their website. For all your other programs, you can submit your application through the Apply Online portal, and the on-time closing dates for those are as follows. For Term 3, 2024, would be 25th of August, and for Term 1, 2025, it's going to be the 30th of November. Applications submitted after those dates are still accepted, but are subject to the available places, which are obviously limited. Here you're going to see a couple screen grabs of UAC Postgrad portal and our UNSW Apply Online portal. Remember, please, to post any questions that you have in that chat as we're going. Now, if we move on over to Degree Finder, Degree Finder is a great tool that you will want to use when you're looking for information on entry requirements and any additional criteria that you may be required to provide when applying at UNSW. One of our future students reps will provide that link in the chat so that you can explore it as we go. Here you can see an example of our Degree Finder page. You can search by your area of interest, gain an overview of the structure of the program potentially, entry requirements, future careers that might spawn from that program, find out how to apply, and the program's related fees. There's also a section including information around Commonwealth supported places and available scholarships if that's applicable to the program that you're interested in. A Commonwealth supported place is a spot at a university that's subsidised by the Australian government, meaning that students who receive what we call a CSP don't pay the full course fees. Instead, the Australian government pays one part and you pay the smaller fee, which we call the student contribution. This can make postgraduate study so much more affordable. If you choose to apply for HEX help, you can also defer the remaining fees without needing to pay upfront each term. All domestic applicants will be considered when applying for a CSP program if they're applying through the Apply Online portal. If you need to go through UAC, you'll need to apply for a CSP when doing your preferences. It's important to know that not all programs offer a Commonwealth supported place. Some degrees are only domestic fee paying, and if you're a domestic fee paying student, you may be eligible to defer the tuition fees via fee help. UNSW has a diverse range of scholarships available where students from all around the world can find the support they need to succeed. Our scholarships aren't just based on your grades, although they're important, but instead we look at UNSW values, leadership skills, extracurricular interests, and your passion to study with us. Our globally recognised scholarships will provide financial support and acknowledge your academic excellence as a student. Postgraduate degree options. There can be different entry points and durations for our postgraduate programs. You can start with something like a graduate certificate or a graduate diploma, which are shorter programs, generally under 1 year in duration. These are perfect if you want to consider sort of like a shorter study duration rather than committing to an entire master's degree. And these courses will allow you to articulate into a master's degree later on if you wish to ladder up. Alternatively, you can choose to study one of our globally recognised master's degrees, which in most cases you can finish in about 2 years long. This can be reduced if you have something that gives you recognition of prior learning, which I'm going to explain in a minute. Each degree has its own set of entry requirements. If you are ineligible, you can start with a graduate certificate or a graduate diploma and articulate into that master's degree afterwards. So there's always options. Some frequently asked questions around study loads and mode of learning, because we hear that a lot. Students will often ask, can I study part-time? As a domestic student, you have the flexibilities to dial up or down your study load as you choose. You can move between part-time or full-time and swap back and forth as you wish. International students have a little bit less flexibility, and that's because we're bound by your visa regulations. You should be studying full-time, and at present you can work 48 hours per fortnight. What does full-time study look like? Well, as a full-time student, you can take 8 courses over the year, 3 in term 2, 3 in term 1, 2 in the other. It's however you like. Will my classes be online or in person? That's a really good question. UNSW postgraduate offerings include face-to-face, online and hybrid degrees, so it really depends on which program you're interested in. You can find out more about the delivery mode of the program you're specifically interested in via the degree finder. If we take the Master of Commerce as an example, this program has a face-to-face blended delivery mode. So you can have an online lecture or a face-to-face tutorial or potentially vice versa. And people always ask, when are my classes scheduled? Well, UNSW postgraduate programs are designed for those who are working. So classes are generally in the evening so that you can fit it all in. However, we cannot guarantee that every course will be outside of business hours, so always worth checking. Some programs also offer short course modes like intensive or weekend classes. Now, if everyone wants to remember to keep flooding their questions in, our future student advisors are ready to help. Recognition of prior learning is something that you can apply for if you've completed previous study or are looking at an articulation pathway potentially, or maybe transferring from a different tertiary provider. There are two ways to do this. You could either do this through UAC. Once you've accepted your offer, you can lodge an application for credit transfer. Or if you're using Apply Online, when you're submitting your application, just make sure to tick the advanced standing box to indicate you would like to be assessed for credit by our admissions office. As part of the recognition of prior learning policy, students may be offered credits for courses amounting to a maximum of 50% of their total degree requirements. However, this is assessed on a case-by-case basis. Credit can only be awarded for courses that are no more than 10 years, completed more than 10 years prior, so just good to remember that as well. Now I'm going to hand over to Jordan, who's going to take you through postgraduate study for international students.
Thanks, Ellen. Hi everyone, my name is Jordan Mendoza. I work as an International Regional Officer here at UNSW, and I'm pleased to join you today to talk to you about applying to UNSW as an international student and highlight some of the subtle but more important differences you'll need to be aware of. I'll be covering what you can see listed on the slide here, but before I move on, it's important to highlight these words about our degrees being globally recognized. This is important to our international students because they want to know that their degree from UNSW will be recognized in their home country and elsewhere in the world, and they absolutely are. Upon graduating from UNSW, you'll have an accredited, globally recognized, and highly sought after qualification from one of the world's best universities. In the same way that's been outlined earlier by Ellen, you can apply for your chosen program via the Apply Online portal. Key difference here is there are a number of deadlines to consider in the application process. Our Apply on Time deadline will ensure that your application will be assessed for the term in which you have applied, whilst we have a strict acceptance deadline due to the visa application times. We would always highly recommend you submit your application at least 3 months before your program is due to begin. This allows you enough time to receive your offer from our admissions team, get your confirmation of enrollment, more on that later, apply for your student visa, and finally book your flight to Sydney. It's also important to point out that as an international student, you need to be studying full-time. This is a requirement for the international student visa as set out by the Department of Home Affairs in Australia. You already seen previously what the degree finder page looks like and how the program page appears. The essential information listed at the top of each program webpage includes the degree overview, entry requirements, program structure, how to apply, fees, and scholarships. However, one essential thing you need to do on the program page you are looking at is to change the view to set it as international. This updates the entry requirements and fees information specifically. Generally, entry requirements are based on academic achievement. There are some occasions where professional experience may be required or can support your application, but you'll always be made aware of these requirements, either through the Apply portal or after you've applied when our admissions team will instruct you. What you'll often see under the Entry Requirements tab for international students is a credit average, or WAM, which stands for Weighted Average Mark. To work out whether you'll likely meet this mark, you'll need to use the Postgraduate Coursework Entry Score Calculator. You should be able to see on screen now. Here, you can add in your undergraduate grades, marks, or scores, and the calculator will give you an indication of the UNSW equivalent mark you have attained. If you think you've met these requirements, just ensure that you have your degree certificate and transcript so that way the admissions team can assess these. All international students studying at UNSW will also need to prove English language proficiency. There are 4 ways to achieve these requirements. 1, you can do an English test. 2, you can consider doing the UNSW College English course. 3, prior study. Or 4, reside in a deemed English-speaking country or meet 2 of our conditions listed for our English waiver. The most common way international students meet these requirements is through the IELTS test, which is one of the most commonly available and recognized tests, but I would encourage you to explore all options on the English requirements webpage. The Australian Department of Home Affairs has placed additional responsibilities onto Australian universities to ensure their incoming international students are fully aware and comply with all of the student visa conditions. In some of these cases, UNSW has taken additional measures by requiring students to go through what we call the genuine student requirement, which involves providing financial documentation and personal statements where applicable to comply with these new responsibilities. The additional steps will be requested by UNSW admissions according to the Department of Home Affairs country guidelines. The steps may only be completed by an authorized UNSW agent, or if there is not one available in your home country, a UNSW regional manager. Use our Find an Agent tool on our website. There will likely be one in your closest city, but if not, you can arrange a video consultation with one in your country. It's your responsibility to ensure you are informed on the GS requirements. To find out more on the GS process, please refer to the link provided by the Future Students Advisors in the Q&A chat. Once you have met all academic requirements and GS requirements required by the university, you will receive an offer that you can accept. Once you accept that offer, you will be issued with a confirmation of enrollment, or COE. Once you have this, it is your first step towards obtaining your student visa. Moving on to international scholarships. We have a huge range of scholarships available to our international students. If you are eligible for scholarships based on your nationality, this will be automatically applied to your application. On top of that, you are encouraged to apply for any other you think you are relevant to your academic background or work or life experience and achievements. In terms of how to apply, you'll need to have an offer from UNSW, so apply for your degree of choice first, use your student ID, log into your scholarship website, and search for the international scholarships. Apply for the scholarships before the due date. Where can you find guidance? You can contact the Future Students team by following the web address on the slide. If you require more bespoke assistance, we suggest you employ the services of one of our agents, and we'll post the link to Find an Agent tool on our website. Please continue to pop your questions into the chat. Back to you, Ellen.
Thanks, Jordan. Now, before we get into your questions, I want to hear from a postgrad student. I'm going to introduce to you Layla, who is one of our current postgrad students at the moment, and she's studying a Master of Engineering. Layla, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I want to hear about what it's been like to be a UNSW student. How are you going?
I'm going fantastic. So I'm currently studying my Master of Biomedical Engineering, and I found it extremely stimulating and rewarding. The labs are very practical, and they're designed in such a way that we understand concepts thoroughly, but we're also having fun. There are also over 300 clubs and societies, so all extracurricular activities are supported as well. The faculty are very easy to engage with, and mental health is also greatly prioritized here, so we feel very supported in all aspects. And the course material is so engaging. I found interest in my field that I never previously considered. I used to be particularly interested in medical devices, but now I realized I'm very into regulatory affairs and project management and things like that. So these are all things like I never thought about before embarking on my postgrad.
So many students that we talk to sort of have similar stories where they think they want X at the start of their learning journey, and then that progresses as they get exposure to new concepts and things like that. When you think about your own experience, how do you think UNSW has helped you to progress your skills and learning to then create a network of future sort of career prospects for yourself?
So in that aspect, UNSW employability has been a huge lifesaver. So they have multiple programs that you could take. One is you could book a personalized session with a career coach to discuss various career pathways that you could actually consider. Or you could take personalized questionnaires to kind of determine what workplace setting you thrive best in. But the most fruitful program I undertook here was the Career Discovery Mentoring Program, in which you get matched with a mentor who's an alumnus of your current degree. So I got matched with a current tissue engineer at a startup who graduated around 8 years ago, as well as a current principal engineer at an MNC who graduated in the 1970s.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so both in mentorships was so valuable to me, and I definitely plan to go through the program multiple times again. In terms of networking, many clubs and societies have events solely for that purpose. So I've been able to create a pretty strong network like that. Also, I found that most companies that I want to work in have UNSW alumni in like high positions. So I feel more comfortable messaging them on LinkedIn and maybe asking them some questions about the company or the role. So yeah, it's been pretty good for me so far.
That's so amazing to hear because, you know, on the UNSW side, we're really focused on crafting these amazing experiences for our students to go through, and to hear someone actually picking up and doing all those things is exactly what we want to hear. For me, that's probably the number one tip that I could give to any postgrad student that's considering study, is just to get involved with all the types of things that Layla was talking about. From your perspective, if you could give one tip to a student that was sort of on the fence about jumping into postgrad study, what do you think it would be?
I think if you're very passionate about your field, you should definitely go for it. One thing I would say maybe is that balancing academics, research, and maybe part-time job, maybe 2 part-time jobs requires very good time management. So I personally use calendars and weekly planners to kind of stay on top of things. Also, I would say networking is definitely key. You should join clubs, societies, engage with your peers and your professors, because these kind of connections are kind of where you can get research opportunities or job offers even. And definitely I would say like UNSW is the place to be. Like it's ranked number 1 in like Australia for a reason. So the facilities you get, the resources you have access to, the faculty, it's all top notch. Definitely a very, very fruitful experience thus far. If you're into your field, I think you should definitely go for it.
Thanks, Layla. We're now going to go and take some questions from the chat. You guys have been busy writing away and we're here to answer. Okay, so guys, you have been very busy. There is so many questions coming in here, and I can see some repetition in some themes in some of these questions. So the first one that's probably come up 3 or 4 times in this, Jordan, I might just throw to you. A couple of the students are asking more or less along the lines of, I'm an international applicant, can I apply for a scholarship? What do you have to say about that?
Yes, we have a wide range of international scholarships and awards, and as soon as you apply and have your full offer, you're able to go through our UNSW scholarships and see what's available and what you meet in your eligibility.
Yeah, and there's so many of those available, it's very worthwhile. The next one that's coming up, I might sort of get myself. what flexible options are available to domestic students who want to study a postgrad degree while keeping my job? Okay, that is so real and so fair. I am a working mum myself, and so I understand the challenge of, juggling it all and making it work. That's certainly not easy. In the program itself, we try to bake that into postgrad qualifications because we know that you inherently need that sort of flexibility to juggle not just the job, which we're being asked about, but also that family commitment that you're likely to be balancing. What I would say is there's a range of flexible offerings to help you sort of keep going. So you can, for instance, study part-time if you wanted. Students very frequently flex between full-time study and part-time, back and forth, dial up and down the load as they see fit. You'll also find there's a lot of flexibility built into our programs in the design structure itself. So you're often able to study, in a flexible manner, be that online, with lectures and tutorials at different sort of times of the day as well to work around that workplace commitment. Jordan, there's another one here. Sanjeet from India. Can I chat to someone from my region for more information?
Yes, so UNSW has a great international team scattered throughout the world, and we have a dedicated team that's based in India that can provide advice and any information that you may seek about the university and the application process and so forth.
And Layla, this one looks like it was almost crafted specifically at you. How do you value the flexibility of your postgraduate studies?
So almost all lectures are either recorded or streamed online, so you can easily catch up with anything that you've missed. Yeah. And lab frequency varies from course to course. Yeah. So some courses may have a lab every week, and one that I've taken had only 2 labs throughout the entire term. But the labs are conducted in multiple batches, so even if you miss one session, you can kind of slip into another session without any issues. Yeah. So I found that flexibility was super helpful in managing my other commitments as well.
So much of that flexibility that you're talking about can be program specific, right? So that one's specific to your specific study program. But I'm curious, with that flexibility, what do you do with it? Like, what does it allow you to get into that maybe you wouldn't have been otherwise if you were in a really rigid structure?
So I volunteer with ARC at UNSW. Yeah. So I get a lot of exposure to all the clubs and the societies under UNSW. So when I have more time to get more involved in the extracurricular side of things as well.
Well, that's great. Thank you, Layla. Guys, that is probably all the time that we have for questions for this evening. Please know that if you have any additional questions, feel free to contact our future student advisors by phone, email, or the live chat. If you're still considering postgraduate study and would like specific information about any of our postgrad programs that we're offering, we have actually the chance to book a personalised one-on-one consultation with a UNSW academic who can answer your questions related to that program in specific detail. These bookings are available over a 3-day period, starting from Tuesday the 23rd to Thursday the 25th of July, and bookings can be made via the link which has been just posted into the chat. Guys, thank you so much for tonight, and we hope to see you at UNSW in the future.